In Zambia's most emotional legal standoff yet, Makebi Zulu, a respected lawyer and PF official, is now under fire.
Why?
For standing by the Lungu family during a storm of controversy over former President Edgar Lungu's burial. Now, rumors swirl that his law license may be suspended. Is this a legal issue or political revenge? He's one of Zambia's most well-known legal figures, a former provincial minister, a senior member of the Patriotic Front, and a man who has stood beside the Lungu family during their most painful days. But now, Makebi Zulu is at the center of an explosive controversy. Following his fierce legal defense of former President Edgar Lungu's family, including public statements against the government's role in Lungu's funeral crisis, there are now rumors and growing concern that his law-practicing license may be under threat. Has Makebi crossed a professional line? Is this about ethics or about politics? Tonight, we go inside this developing legal drama, exploring the facts, the accusations, the politics, and the possible future of one of Zambia's most polarizing lawyers. Makebi Zulu, a Zambian lawyer, has recently come under scrutiny due to his legal representation of the Lungu family, particularly in connection to what has been described as the Lungu funeral saga. According to posts on X, the Republican Progressive Party, RPP, has lodged a complaint with the Law Association of Zambia, LAZ, accusing Zulu of professional misconduct. Additionally, there are claims that his law-practicing license is at risk due to his association with the Lungu family, specifically tied to former President Edgar Lungu. This situation raises significant questions about legal ethics, political motivations, and the independence of Zambia's legal system. The controversy appears to be a flashpoint in a broader political context, potentially involving tensions between the Patriotic Front, PF, to which Edgar Lungu is affiliated, and the ruling United Party for National Development, UPND. This introduction sets the stage for a deeper exploration of who Makebi Zulu is, the nature of his involvement with the Lungu family, the allegations against him, and the broader implications for Zambia's legal and political landscape. The phrase, "a lawyer under fire," encapsulates the intense scrutiny Zulu faces, not only from professional bodies like LAZ, but also in the court of public opinion. The situation highlights the delicate balance lawyers must maintain when representing high-profile clients in politically charged environments. In Zambia, where political polarization between the PF and UPND has been evident since the 2021 elections, legal professionals often find themselves navigating complex terrain where their actions can be interpreted as either professional duty or political allegiance. This case also underscores broader themes of justice, accountability, and the potential misuse of institutional processes for political ends. To fully understand the situation, we must first examine who Makebi Zulu is and why his representation of the Lungu family has sparked such controversy. Who is Makebi Zulu? Makebi Zulu is no stranger to Zambia's political and legal frontlines. He's a practicing lawyer with years of courtroom experience and a background in public service. A member of the Patriotic Front, PF, Zulu served as Eastern Province Minister during President Edgar Lungu's administration. Known for his sharp legal arguments and articulate public appearances, Zulu has built a reputation for being both loyal and legally formidable. In 2024 to 2025, that loyalty would be tested in the most emotional case of his career. Makebi Zulu is a Zambian lawyer known for his legal work and public profile, particularly in politically sensitive cases. While specific biographical details about Zulu are not fully provided in the X posts, we can infer from the context that he is a prominent figure in Zambia's legal community, given his representation of the Lungu family and the attention his case has garnered. Lawyers like Zulu often take on high-profile clients, which can place them at the center of public and political debates. Based on standard profiles of such figures, Zulu is likely a seasoned advocate with experience in civil or constitutional law, areas often relevant in cases involving political figures. His decision to represent the Lungu family suggests a level of professional confidence and possibly a reputation for handling complex, high-stakes cases. In the Zambian context, lawyers representing former presidents or their families often face intense scrutiny, as their actions can be perceived as aligned with specific political factions. Edgar Lungu, Zambia's former president 2015 to 2021, remains a polarizing figure, with his Patriotic Front Party maintaining significant influence despite losing power to the UPND in 2021. Zulu's association with Lungu's family places him in a delicate position where his professional conduct is subject to both legal and political evaluation. Understanding Zulu's background requires recognizing his role as a legal professional operating in a politically charged environment where his actions are likely to be interpreted through partisan lenses. Zulu's prominence in this case also suggests he may have a history of taking on controversial or high-profile cases, a common trait among lawyers who represent political figures. Such lawyers often possess a deep understanding of Zambia's legal system, including its constitutional framework and the intricacies of professional ethics as governed by bodies like LAZ. Without specific details about his education, firm, or past cases, we can reasonably assume Zulu is a well-established advocate whose decision to represent the Lungu family reflects both professional duty and an awareness of the potential risks involved. Representing the Lungu family. After the death of former President Edgar Lungu, chaos surrounded the burial arrangements. With disputes between the Lungu family family and the current UPND-led government. Makebi Zulu stepped in as the family's official legal spokesperson and representative. He argued fiercely that the government failed to honor its constitutional duty to the former president. The Lungu family had the right to manage the funeral independently. The state was using underhanded tactics to politically humiliate the late president and his family. These bold statements were broadcast across media platforms and caught the attention of Zambia's legal and political establishment. The Lungu funeral saga, as referenced in the X posts, appears to be the central event prompting the allegations against Makebi Zulu. However, the posts provide limited details about the nature of this saga, so we must piece together a plausible narrative based on the available information and the broader Zambian context. The term suggests a controversy surrounding a funeral, likely involving a member of Edgar Lungu's family or a related event that drew public or political attention. Zulu's role as the family's lawyer would have placed him at the forefront of any legal proceedings or disputes arising from this event. In Zambia, funerals of prominent figures or their relatives can become focal points for political tensions, especially when they involve former leaders like Edgar Lungu. Such events often attract media coverage and public scrutiny, and any perceived misconduct, whether legal, ethical, or political, can escalate into a broader controversy. Zulu's representation of the Lungu family likely involved providing legal counsel on matters such as estate disputes, public statements, or interactions with authorities, which may have been contentious. The RPP's complaint to LAZ suggests that Zulu's actions during the saga are seen by some as crossing ethical boundaries, though the specifics of these actions remain unclear. One possible scenario is that the funeral involved a dispute over inheritance, protocol, or public conduct, which Zulu navigated on behalf of the Lungu family. For example, if the funeral was for a close relative of Edgar Lungu, tensions could have arisen over how the event was managed, who was involved, or how it was perceived in the context of Lungu's political legacy. Alternatively, the saga could involve a legal challenge related to the funeral, such as a dispute over assets or a public controversy that required legal intervention. Zulu's role would have been to advocate for his client's interests, which may have put him at odds with other parties, including political opponents or regulatory bodies. The X posts indicate that Zulu's representation of the Lungu family is the basis for the allegations against him, suggesting that his actions were seen as controversial or improper by some. This could stem from a variety of factors, such as public statements he made, legal strategies he employed, or perceived alignment with the PF's political agenda. In politically polarized environments, lawyers representing high-profile figures often face accusations of bias or misconduct, even when their actions fall within the bounds of professional ethics. The full story of Zulu's involvement likely involves a complex interplay of legal, political, and social factors, which we'll explore further in the allegations section. The allegations and law license threat. In early July 2025, unconfirmed but widespread reports began circulating that the Law Association of Zambia (LAZ) had received formal complaints against Zulu. The key allegation that his conduct in the Lungu funeral case may have violated professional ethics by making public statements that may have brought the legal profession into disrepute, allegedly misleading the public regarding constitutional interpretations, using his legal platform for political attacks. While LAZ has not officially suspended Zulu, insiders suggest a disciplinary process may be underway, possibly involving a hearing or license review. According to the X posts, the Republican Progressive Party (RPP) has accused Makebi Zulu of professional misconduct during the Lungu funeral saga, lodging a formal complaint with the Law Association of Zambia. Additionally, one post claims that Zulu's law practicing license is under threat due to his representation of the Lungu family. These allegations suggest that Zulu's conduct is perceived as violating the ethical standards expected of Zambian lawyers, though the exact nature of the misconduct is not specified in the posts. Professional misconduct for a lawyer can encompass a range of behaviors, as defined by Zambia's Legal Practitioners Act and LAZ's Code of Ethics. Common examples include breaching client confidentiality, acting with a conflict of interest, engaging in dishonest or fraudulent behavior, or bringing the legal profession into disrepute. In Zulu's case, the allegations likely relate to his actions during the funeral saga, which may have been seen as inflammatory, unethical, or politically motivated. For instance, if Zulu made public statements or pursued legal strategies that were perceived as provocative or partisan, this could form the basis of the RPP's complaint. Another possibility is that the allegations stem from a specific action, such as mishandling funds, misrepresenting facts, or failing to adhere to legal protocols during the funeral-related proceedings. The claim that his license is under threat suggests a serious accusation, as the loss of a practicing license is a significant penalty reserved for egregious violations. However, without detailed evidence, it's critical to approach these claims skeptically, as they may reflect political motivations rather than objective breaches of ethics. The context of the allegations also points to potential political undertones. The RPP's decision to target Zulu, combined with the mention of the Lungu family, suggests that the complaint may be linked to broader tensions between the PF and other political factions, including the ruling UPND. Lawyers representing opposition figures often face accusations of misconduct as a means of discrediting their clients or limiting their legal representation. The allegations against Zulu must therefore be examined in light of both professional ethics and the political dynamics at play. What the Law Association of Zambia says. The Law Association of Zambia (LAZ) is the regulatory body that oversees the conduct of legal professionals. Under its mandate, lawyers are required to maintain neutrality in public disputes, avoid inflammatory public commentary during active legal cases, protect the integrity of the legal system. In past cases, LAZ has taken disciplinary action against high-profile lawyers for politicizing legal matters. If Makebi is found to have crossed that line, his practicing license could be suspended or even revoked. But here's the complication. Zulu isn't just a lawyer. He's a politician and one of the last vocal defenders of the Lungu family in public life. The Law Association of Zambia (LAZ) is the professional body responsible for regulating the conduct of lawyers in Zambia. Its role includes setting ethical standards, handling complaints against legal practitioners, and overseeing disciplinary processes. According to the ex-posts, the RPP has formally complained to LAZ about Makebi Zulu's alleged misconduct, indicating that the matter has entered the association's disciplinary framework. LAZ's disciplinary process typically begins with the receipt of a formal complaint, which is reviewed by its disciplinary committee. The committee assesses whether the complaint has merit and, if so, initiates an investigation. This may involve gathering evidence, interviewing witnesses, and allowing the accused lawyer to respond to the allegations. If the committee finds evidence of misconduct, it can recommend sanctions ranging from a warning or fine to suspension or revocation of the lawyer's practicing license. The process is guided by the Legal Practitioners Act and LAZ's Code of Ethics, which emphasize fairness, transparency, and adherence to legal principles. In Zulu's case, LAZ's role is to evaluate the RPP's complaint and determine whether his actions during the Lungu funeral saga constitute professional misconduct. This involves assessing whether Zulu violated specific ethical rules, such as acting with integrity, maintaining client confidentiality, or avoiding conflicts of interest. The process is designed to be impartial, but in politically charged cases, public perception of LAZ's neutrality can be tested. If the allegations are found to be baseless or politically motivated, LAZ has the authority to dismiss the complaint, protecting Zulu's professional standing. The disciplinary process also raises questions about the balance between accountability and the right to legal representation. Lawyers like Zulu have a duty to represent their clients zealously, even in controversial cases. If LAZ were to penalize Zulu for actions taken in good faith on behalf of the Lungu family, it could set a precedent that discourages lawyers from representing politically sensitive clients. Conversely, if Zulu's actions genuinely violated ethical standards, LAZ's role is to uphold the integrity of the profession by holding him accountable. Politics or professionalism? The question many Zambians are asking is this legal discipline or political revenge? PF supporters argue that Makebi Zulu is being targeted for defending the Lungu family in a climate that has become deeply hostile to the former ruling party. UPND supporters argue the opposite, that Makebi is trying to undermine government authority and stir anti-HH sentiment using the legal system as cover. In a highly polarized environment where lawyers often play both legal and political roles, the line between duty and danger is increasingly blurred. The question of whether the allegations against Makebi Zulu represent legitimate legal oversight or political pressure is central to understanding the broader implications of this case. Legal oversight refers to the objective enforcement of professional standards by bodies like LAZ, ensuring that lawyers adhere to ethical guidelines. Political pressure, on the other hand, involves the use of institutional processes to target individuals for partisan reasons, often to undermine political opponents or their associates. Several factors suggest that political pressure may be at play. The involvement of the RPP, a political party, in lodging the complaint raises questions about their motives, especially given the reference to the Lungu family and Edgar Lungu's status as a former president and PF leader. Zambia's political landscape has been marked by tensions between the PF and the UPND since the latter's victory in 2021, with accusations of politically motivated legal actions against opposition figures. Targeting Zulu as the Lungu family's lawyer could be a strategy to weaken the PF's ability to secure effective legal representation or to discredit Lungu's legacy. However, it's also possible that the allegations reflect genuine concerns about Zulu's conduct. If his actions during the funeral saga violated ethical standards, such as making inflammatory statements, engaging in dishonest practices, or failing to follow legal protocols, LAZ's investigation would constitute appropriate oversight. The challenge lies in distinguishing between legitimate ethical concerns and accusations driven by political motives. The lack of specific details in the ex-posts makes it difficult to determine the exact nature of the allegations, but the political context suggests that partisan dynamics may be influencing the situation. To assess this question, we must consider the broader implications for Zambia's legal system. If the complaint against Zulu is found to be politically motivated, it could undermine public confidence in LAZ and the judiciary, reinforcing perceptions of institutional bias. Conversely, if LAZ handles the case transparently and fairly, it could strengthen the rule of law by demonstrating that professional standards apply equally to all lawyers, regardless regardless of their client's political affiliations. Public and political reaction. Across social media, reactions to the controversy have been explosive. Some Zambians hail Makebi as a hero, standing against what they see as state intimidation. Others call for his disbarment, accusing him of twisting the law to score political points. PF leaders, including Given Labinda and Brian Mundable, have warned of a legal crackdown targeting opposition figures. Meanwhile, UPND-aligned voices insist that no one is above professional accountability, even if they represent powerful families. The public reaction to Makebi Zulu's case, as suggested by the X-posts, is likely to be divided along political lines, reflecting Zambia's polarized political landscape. The Patriotic Front, PF, as Edgar Lungu's party, would likely view the allegations against Zulu as an attack on their political interests. PF supporters may argue that Zulu is being targeted for his association with the Lungu family, framing the complaint as a politically motivated attempt to silence opposition voices. They may rally behind Zulu, portraying him as a victim of UPND aggression and emphasizing the importance of legal representation for all, regardless of political affiliation. Conversely, the United Party for National Development, UPND, the ruling party, may support the RPP's complaint, particularly if they believe Zulu's actions crossed ethical lines. UPND supporters might argue that the case is about upholding professional standards, not political persecution. However, given the political context, their support for the complaint could be seen as an attempt to weaken the PF by targeting their legal allies. The RPP's role as the complainant further complicates the narrative, as it suggests that smaller political parties may also be leveraging the situation to gain visibility or align with the ruling party. The general public's reaction is likely to be mixed, shaped by their political affiliations and trust in institutions like LAZ. Some Zambians may view the case as a test of the legal system's independence, questioning whether LAZ can handle the complaint impartially. Others may see it as another example of political score settling, reinforcing perceptions of a polarized society. Social media platforms like X will likely amplify these divisions, with users posting competing narratives about justice, ethics, and politics. The X posts themselves reflect this polarized sentiment. The @Zambian Observer posts dramatic framing, law practicing license under threat, suggests a narrative of persecution, which may resonate with PF supporters. Meanwhile, the @Kalemba_news posts focus on professional misconduct, aligns with a more formal, legalistic perspective that UPND supporters might endorse. These posts, while inconclusive, indicate that the case is generating significant public interest and debate. What happens if Zulu is disbarred? If LAZ finds Makebi Zulu guilty of professional misconduct, several outcomes are possible. Suspension of his law license for a period of time. Disbarment, permanently ending his legal practice. A formal warning or fine with conditions for future conduct. But any disciplinary action, especially if perceived as political, could spark further outrage and even lead to legal counteraction from PF supporters or international observers. The precedent set could affect not just Zulu, but how future lawyers handle political cases in Zambia. If Makebi Zulu were to be disbarred, meaning his law practicing license is revoked, the consequences would be significant for both him and the broader legal and political landscape in Zambia. Disbarment is one of the most severe penalties a lawyer can face, effectively barring them from practicing law. For Zulu, this would mean the loss of his livelihood as a legal practitioner, as well as damage to his professional reputation. Professionally, disbarment would prevent Zulu from representing clients, appearing in court, or providing legal services in Zambia. This could have financial and personal repercussions, particularly if he relies on his legal practice as his primary source of income. Additionally, disbarment often carries a social stigma, as it implies serious ethical or professional failings. Zulu would also lose his membership in LAZ and any associated professional privileges. The impact on the Lungu family and the PF would also be notable. Losing a trusted lawyer could limit their ability to navigate legal challenges, particularly if other lawyers are deterred from taking on their cases due to fear of similar repercussions. This could weaken the PF's position in ongoing or future legal battles, especially if the disbarment is perceived as a warning to other lawyers representing opposition figures. From a systemic perspective, Zulu's disbarment could have chilling effects on Zambia's legal profession. Lawyers may become hesitant to represent politically controversial clients, fearing professional retaliation. This could undermine access to justice, as individuals and groups, particularly those in opposition, may struggle to secure competent legal representation. On the other hand, if Zulu's disbarment is based on clear evidence of serious misconduct, it could reinforce the integrity of the legal profession by demonstrating that ethical standards are enforced consistently. Zulu would likely have the right to appeal a disbarment decision, either through LAZ or the courts, depending on Zambia's legal framework. An appeal process could prolong the controversy, keeping the case in the public eye and further polarizing opinions about its legitimacy. Final verdict: the battle for Zambia's legal conscience. At the center of this drama lies a difficult question. Can lawyers represent controversial figures without risking their careers? And more importantly, can Zambia's legal system stay above politics? Makebi Zulu insists he did nothing wrong. His defense defenders say he was simply protecting the Lungu family's dignity. His critics argue he used his legal position to politicize a sensitive national moment. As the Law Association reviews the case and the public watches closely, this isn't just about one lawyer. It's about how Zambia defines professionalism, loyalty, and the rule of law in the era after Edgar Lungu. This documentary is based on publicly available sources, court filings, press briefings, and interviews given by key figures in Zambia and South Africa. It is presented purely for informational and educational purposes, with no political affiliation or agenda. The question of whether the outcome of Makebi Zulu's case represents justice or vengeance hinges on the fairness and transparency of the disciplinary process, as well as the motivations behind the allegations. Justice would imply that any sanctions against Zulu are based on clear evidence of professional misconduct, adjudicated impartially by LAZ in accordance with established ethical standards. Vengeance, conversely, would suggest that the complaint is a pretext for punishing Zulu for his association with the Lungu family, driven by political motives rather than genuine concerns about ethics. Determining which outcome prevails requires examining several factors. First, the specificity and credibility of the allegations are critical. If the RPP's complaint is supported by concrete evidence, such as documented instances of Zulu violating ethical rules, then a finding of misconduct could be seen as just. However, if the allegations are vague or appear to target Zulu's client rather than his actions, the process risks being perceived as vengeful. Second, LAZ's handling of the case will be pivotal. A transparent, evidence-based investigation would bolster the perception of justice, while any signs of bias or external pressure could fuel accusations of vengeance. The broader political context cannot be ignored. Zambia's history of political tensions, particularly between the PF and UPND, suggests that legal processes can sometimes be weaponized to target opponents. If Zulu's case is seen as part of a pattern of targeting PF-affiliated figures, it will likely be viewed as vengeance, regardless of the formal outcome. Conversely, if LAZ can demonstrate that its decision is grounded in objective ethical standards, it may reinforce public trust in the rule of law. Ultimately, the final verdict will depend on how the case is resolved and how it is perceived by the public. A fair process that holds Zulu accountable for genuine misconduct would align with justice. However, a politically motivated outcome that punishes him for representing the Lungu family would be seen as vengeance, further eroding trust in Zambia's institutions. Conclusion: the case of Makebi Zulu highlights the complex interplay of law, politics, and ethics in Zambia's polarized environment. As a lawyer representing the Lungu family, Zulu has found himself at the center of a controversy that raises questions about professional conduct, institutional integrity, and political motivations. The allegations against him, as reported in Ex-Post, suggest a serious challenge to his career, with potential implications for the Lungu family, the PF, and the broader legal profession. While the specifics of the Lungu funeral saga remain unclear, the case underscores the challenges lawyers face when navigating politically sensitive cases. Whether the outcome represents justice or vengeance will depend on the transparency and fairness of LAZ's disciplinary process, as well as the broader political dynamics at play. This controversy serves as a reminder of the delicate balance between legal accountability and the risk of political interference in Zambia's evolving democracy.